So, concerning Amaranth, and this is really funny how this spirally road of sorts and coverage is playing out. I did not foresee this, but if you would consider this video to stand alongside the previous coverage I offered, that being the other version of Do or Die, let's say in sum, this video is a correction to the correction that I offered publicly. Again, I didn't expect this, but, you know, with Amaranth, I don't mind a spirally road for such a delightful talent that I'm humoring in large regard for the first time in terms of the work specifically of you on this channel. Though Amaranth, as I've said before, I'll keep it simple, is a familiar name to me in the European rock and metal landscape, and some of you know, again, how beautiful that space is for me. I've just developed a pleasant addiction to it. There's such strength in that environment, especially in the Swedish regards. I've entertained on this channel so many groups now at this point that might have been long-standing names or first emergences. With all of you that have been just delightful. Amaranth, I think, is the hardest of the lineup of groups I'm considering, at least at the time. Maybe that'll expand as well into the future. I'm definitely game for more in the way of Swedish metal, but Do or Die, well, yes, I'll get to the track in a minute, but Amaranth has such a beautiful personality, especially to feature on this channel. I love everything that I've heard in terms of range. Although it's very familiarized on the electronic metal side and definitely befits, I would say, a Swedish mainstay in the rock environment, at least to what I'm familiarized to. But with specific regard to this group, the track constructions, the ideas, the philosophies, the guitar work, and the heaviness of the works, combined with such beautiful vocal synergy on behalf of everybody. Elise, Nils, or at the time as well with the debut of Manifest, Enrique, it's just been wonderful to have that experience of you in terms of first engagements for such a high caliber talent. And Amaranth truly is that. You know, as I said, they don't fit in the specific regard of other European talents I've humored on this channel on the grounds of first impressions, largely based on your recommendations, or maybe just me perusing around, finding other groups, maybe through collaborative acts as well. I know of Amaranth, they have been a prominent name in regards to your references, and I love being able to feature talents that, again, many of you so desire for me to inquire on. At this point, there's not been a track or an artist on this channel that I've not liked, and Amaranth certainly fits into that. But, you know, I approach them differently from the territory of first impressions, and then I had heard a couple of their works going in a number of years ago, in fact, though I'd forgotten at the time it was Amaranth until I went to gauge with a selection of the work. I'm like, oh yeah, these pieces, I've heard this before, and the group was pretty good. But in building out my understanding with them, it's been wonderful to have that point of engagement with you for 9 pieces thus far. Now, though, returning to the original format of 10. Because it's funny, with Do or Die, I didn't realize there was an original version, and that I had mistakenly, because, you know, I pre-purchased all the music I cover on this channel in an effort to support the artist, right? It's just the way I do things. I had bought the original version. So I've heard the first bit, right, going in. It's not necessarily entirely fresh, but it was enough to teach me, okay, I want to hear the original version. As good as that everyone was with the, I forget the front lady of her name, the former lead vocalist to Arch Enemy. They've also been a name of frequent regard. Maybe I'll get to them at some point pretty soon. We'll see. I don't know. I'm getting through all your names on a case-by-case basis in terms of references, and it's taking time, but, you know, that's the European scene for you. There are so many groups to entertain. But anyway, the first version was pretty good. So, hearing that there was an original version with the vocal talents, because this wasn't present with the first one. It was just Elise and I believe Angela, if I'm getting the name right. This has everybody. Elise, Enrique, and Nils, right? And in the future, as I've said, my consideration with the group is that, as far as I'm concerned, open door. I know that there's developments in the way of the future for, I believe, a 2023 album. Maybe I have the date wrong, but I know they're working on something. I can't wait to hear it. New stuff, 100%. I'm sitting here ready and waiting. But let's encapsulate the journey, because I'm probably, you know, I will say as well, given special regard to this in the past, I'm a big Scream guy, you know, in regards to my metal favorability, and Enrique, though he's no longer a part of the group for understandable reasons, he's been so much fun to listen to in context to Amaranth. Let's humor one more piece to conclude, I guess, our journey through Manifest, and at the time, Amaranth, though, as I said, doors open. And to hear the original piece, you know, with the group in focus, right? As good as the everyone was, and the ideas of the piece, it's a very complex and relevant one, I think, in terms of social discourse. It has quite a depth on whatever angle you approach. And I said as much. There are ways to approach this track broadly, even if maybe you don't necessarily fall in line on every measure. you can also just appreciate the music as well. This piece had such a presence to it. I can't wait to humor it again, in fact, with everybody involved, though. Different vocalists this time. As good as that first one was, and as strong as Angela was as a screamer, that was impressive. She took on the Enrique role quite well. But let's see Enrique and Nils, who again I love. Nils, I'm a big fan of, since my first introduction to him with the Ad Infinitum collaboration for Afterlife off their Chapter 2 album, I've been dying to hear more of him, and so far he's been just a delight in terms of his range, the personality, his classic rock nostalgia throwback for me. I'm like, I know maybe that's not what he's intending, but it's what's manifesting with his work, manifest, no pun intended. Anyway, Do or Die, the original version. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that piece, and as per usual, many of you know, again, if you're familiar with my content, but some of you might not be, I like to feature the lyrics as well to give you a complete take, and if you're somebody that likes to read along with the message of the piece. So if you want to explore the narrative for yourself as you listen to the track with me and entertain the original version, those are provided in the video, and you'll see those commence as soon as the song launches now. Ah man, this track is such a wonderful drive. If you've never entertained Amaranth before, isn't this just beautiful? Both versions are great. And there's the overlap. Nils and Elise together, they're just such a force. There's a trade-off here though, because Elise had prominence in the last one, or the other version. Now it's Nils. Love that. Although, if you've heard Amaranth before, they trade roles around quite a bit in terms of dominance. And that is to be appreciated. Man, that's good. I'm gonna miss Enrique, but he's been wonderful to feature. Maybe someday we'll get to some of his associated work if he continues to do music. We'll see. If any of you know, please chime in down below. My word. This is a fabulous version. I just love it that we've got, like, in context to Manifest, there's a Nils-centric track. I love it. I love spending such a long duration with him. Just, I haven't heard a specific execution of range quite like I have with Nils. It's just been so impressive since the minute I heard of him. I love it. Both versions are exemplary, but man, that one captures your attention. That's impressive. I love entertaining Amaranth. For those of you who, again, I hope with my content that there are two standpoints of approach. Maybe there are more as well that might work in context from time to time, depending on the work, but I do hope for an audience of both knowledgeable aficionados and longer time followers than perhaps me, for sure, with Amaranth, and for new listeners. I hope for both. Because, again, I love featuring music on this channel. It's a passion project for me. It's been a long time ambition. Because it truly is, for me, the most triumphant of the art forms, and it's the one I'm most personally connected to. I've been, since I was a kid. So if I can in any way inspire paths for you to endeavor on for yourself, and I can't speak, enough positive regard of the European rock scene, or slash metal. You are missing out if you've never entertained it before. But we spend a lot of time here, and to be fair, other geographical landmarks as well. I hop around the globe quite a bit. I know concerning some of your recommendations, I've been given other names that have us going to many other countries as well. But with Europe, I have such a good time. I do hope that if in any way I can provide this, that we can share in a mutual experience on that regard. And that you perhaps have not approached Amaranth before, but you have a fun time. That is very trademarked them on sound. It is very consistent, again, to the original, or to the reinvented, if you want to call it that, version of Do or Die with the collaboration. And that's where it's more so Elise in prominence alongside Angela. I believe I heard Elise in here. Maybe it was more so Nils with a vocal overlap. I'm not exactly sure. It could have been both. But they do trade roles around quite a bit. This is more, from my standpoint, a Nils Molin-centric track. With Enrique, of course, as an echo in the background who's reinforcing. It's just such a wonder. Well, it's not reinforcing. Reinforcing, and he's a complementary presence on part. Even that, it's maybe they're kind of like even footing, but I don't know. On the melodic side, Nils takes center stage, and that range, oh my word. Again, like I said, my first exposure to him ad infinitum, I've been a fan ever since. And I know that Dynasty, I will get to them eventually. I haven't picked out the selection of tracks I want to spotlight from them yet, but I have considered that he's also a member on that group, and maybe at some point I will be able to feature them as well, because it's been a delight with Amaranth. In terms of everybody as well, all of the musicians here, from the guitar work to the percussion side, their pieces have such dimension to them. But the range on the vocals and the association between the artists, the pairing, the overlap, and again, Nils specifically, I will say as well, in the time that I covered the last piece, and in this one, I have been looking at some live footage from some of their concerts. It'd be cool to entertain one of their shows. I know some of you have mentioned that in the comments as well, and you've had a wonderful experience, and you've got plenty of good stories to share. I'd love to hear more down below if you want to tell them. Their live shows are quite wonderful, but again, like I said, Nils, for me, just takes center stage on his voice. I love hearing him. And so hearing a version of Do or Die where it's more so with, regard to Enrique as well, but on the melodic side, it's a solo act. And it just tests his boundaries. It's so great. I love this version. It is just as deep. Again, like I said, it's basically the same, version of the song with the same lyrics, the same key choice. It's just a change up on the vocal lineup. And it's just so impressive to entertain, to see, again, like I said, the unique dimension among every vocalist. And I'm sure going forward it'll be the same. As I said, with the future of Amaranth, doors open, and I can't wait to hear more. But it's been fun to entertain 10 pieces. So I guess I didn't need to offer a correction the way it worked out. It's kind of funny. I wanted to be fair as well. Like I said, the original count of what I had for Amaranth was severely limited, I thought, in comparison to other artists. I'm like, this isn't really fair. Let's give Amaranth a greater share. I'm glad I did. It's just been funny that I've been changing my order along the way. But I'm grateful that I have. Every piece I've spotlighted with you has been just a wonderful piece to entertain. With Amaranth, generally, I'm having a great time. I can't wait to spend more years with them, hopefully into the future. As well as on this channel, we'll easily be coming back to them when something launches. I'm ready and waiting. I'm sure many of you are too. And I'd love to hear, as I always say, if you wish to disclose this down below, your angle of approach. I'd love to hear if you're a fresh-time listener or a long-time Amaranth fan. I welcome both dynamics in terms of audiences. I'd love to hear how you approach and what your thoughts are on this version. And which is your favorite between the pieces? I know, again, I'm looking at these kind of out of order again, but the original version of Do or Die with Nils, or the collaborative presence on behalf of Angela? Which one do you think is the one that is closer, higher in favorability for you? Because music can be a very subjective experience, right? Maybe you like both equally. That's kind of the camp I find myself in, just for different reasons. I'd love to hear what your perspective is, as I said, down below. Great piece as always of Amaranth. Again, like I said, I love showcasing groups with such a bold energy to them. And Amaranth, I mean, certainly that applies with how heavy their work is, but they're extremely talented. And I consider it an honor to again feature as well, alongside many other European artists, such an adept group. And I can't wait to hear more. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.